welcome to Closers Club. Today we have a true leader in the world of sales and business, Eric Gilbert. Thank you so much for joining.
Thanks for having me.
Eric is CEO of Advanced Client Solutions, where he leads the charge in scaling high-impact operations for various industries. He also serves as a board member for Responsible Enterprises Against Customer Harassment or Consumer Harassment, which is REACH, R-E-A-C-H. With an impressive background in performance marketing, insurance services, business development, Eric has successfully helped companies scale from startup to major players. From the first time Chief Revenue Officer at QuoteStorm, I'd love to get into that transition into being a CRO, to his leadership at Formula Marketing Analytics and All Well Insurance Services. Eric's insights on scaling and strategic partnerships have made significant impact in the industry that you work in. Eric, thank you for joining the show. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
So, Eric, we've been chatting probably for the last 20 minutes, and so far every single thing you've been chatting about is just, I wish we were recording that.
Yeah.
Because that was so great material. So I want to get into each of that. Each of those topics we were jumping on, from talent to retention to motivation, how you're paying people, what true leadership looks like. But before we get into that, let's talk about at the beginning. How did it all start?
Well, I worked for a pretty large performance marketing firm called Precise Leads. At the time, it was at a certain point, it was the largest lead company in the United States. It was pretty simple, but I was able to kind of utilize agency-like licensing databases so that I could
What made it so simple?
Well,
Right.
It's just like any other sales opportunity in a call center. You have a script. You have certain ways that you close certain accounts, and it was pretty mathematic. You just would memorize your script, and as you continue to learn, you make little tweaks and improvements on it. But I noticed that as lead guys, we didn't have super great leads. So I kind of came up with a system where I could link up insurance agency license databases to my email, so that as soon as someone applied and got their license, I got their contact information.
That's
and
cool.
So pretty immediately, I smashed their sales record. The C-levels flew down from New York to Columbus, Ohio, where I was at the time, and I thought I was in trouble. They were like, how did you do what you did? And I was like, well, I'm not going to share my secret sauce with you, dude. So all these other jokers can take my sales?
Yeah.
And they were like, no, we're going to pay you that commission you just made as a base salary, and you're going to design models for us.
So, question on this. I want to pause on this part. So this is Closers Club, talking about sales, talking about closing, talking about negotiation. What was that negotiation like? Was it how did you approach that conversation with your C-suite to make sure that you were looking out after your IP, your intelligence, what you're bringing to the company, so it is a win-win for both you and the company to be successful?
So at the time, I didn't even consider that. I was right out of college.
Okay.
I was so ambitious, and I wanted to learn so aggressively that I was just thrilled that they were paying attention to me. And as soon as they were like, hey, we're going to make that commission check your base account, and then we'll give you quarterly bonuses and override on everything. So it seemed pretty cool to me. Looking back, though, when you don't have equity in a company and you're adding stuff like that, I may have been more cautious. But at the same time, I was just happy to be learning.
Yeah, that's cool. So that was appointment setting. You're starting to build, personal intelligence or IP for the company. What was the next step after that?
The next step after that was, live transfers, for anyone that doesn't know, they're an outbound call model where you take leads, you dial on them, and then you screen those leads so that certain people are filtered through, and you hand them off to a salesperson or a licensed agent, and then they have a buffer timer for that call to go billable. But this was a brand new thing. Back then, we just sold data leads. And so the idea that you could have a lead that was live on the phone, essentially 100% contact rate lead, was a pretty new idea. And I'd gotten really good at pitching against it. I would tell agents like, oh, your guys are going to get lazy, like, you know, they're going to dull their claws. And I got good enough at it that they're like, we want you to design a call program. And I was like, I don't know anything about calls. And so my CRO at the time flew up from Nashville and just gave me like a 101 on, you know, history of the industry, like things that I was not to repeat to like regular sales guys. And it just started from there. And then after a while, transfers kind of became a little bit of a liability. And inbounds, where people call in, you don't call them, became a little bit more scalable. So that was how we transitioned there. But eventually, you know, I wanted something where I had an equity opportunity, so I took up a position somewhere else. And, you know, I've never had a more amicable split with a company. I remember the CEO like flew down, and they threw me a big party, and they were like, you know, cool. We're happy for Eric, and we celebrate entrepreneurship like here. We don't, you know.
Don't get pissed off because you're leaving.
And I always thought that was so cool.
Yeah. Are you still in good relations with the CEO or the?
I am, and the CEO.
How long has that relationship been going on?
Oh man, I'll have to do some math here. Probably like 13 years.
Wow, that's great.
And the old CEO of that company he's not in the space anymore.
Yeah.
His company ended up, I think he went through some personal issues, and his company ended up going under. And I knew everybody at that company like very well, so I essentially was working as a solo consultant. And when I saw that things were happening, I basically contacted like some of the people that hold 80% of the value of like their employees, and I was able to leverage their employment to be on my team with someone who had, you know, capital, and then negotiate a partnership.
That's cool.
That. So that was kind of how QuoteStorm started.
And can you so I know that in my intros, I think I put CRO of QuoteStorm. Were you a CEO? That's correct.
I was the chief revenue officer at QuoteStorm. It ended up getting to a place where it felt like I was the CEO of that company, but I wasn't given that leverage, and like that was kind of like I need to be the CEO.
Yeah.
So I took my team and we just started out from scratch again, and you know the rest is history from there. But yeah.
That's great. That's a great story. So let's kind of talk through like some lessons that you're learning. What you know, when you went through that earlier part, and you know you're creating, you know, a system that makes, you know, the C-suite fly down and talk with you, right? All the way to like building out a new team. Like, what were some of those key milestones of like, this is a huge learning, a huge growth time frame for me?
Yeah.
And it's like this is an oh Jesus moment of some sort, where it's like how am I going to get to the next step?
You know, sometimes people just want to be reinforced by other people.
What is it, like? What does that mean?
I mean, like, if there's somebody that is above your reach that you want on your team, and you know that if you have someone else that could be on your team, it would legitimize that, you can leverage both of those things at the same time and end up getting two people that you think would be overqualified to be on your team, just because those two people know they're going to be working together. Yeah.
There are natural like revenue scaling exercises that, you know, you try to reach, or milestones you reach, like $1 million, like $0 to $1 million in sales.
Yeah.
Right? $1 million, what is it? 10, let's just say 10 for the better part of this conversation, 10 to 20, 20 to 50, so on and so forth. I guess the two questions that come out of that is like, what does that process look like just to get to 0 to $1 million, and then $1 million to 10 million?
0 to $1 million, you're a one-person, well-fueled engine, right?
Okay. So it's just you doing all the work.
Well, I mean, it is, and then, you know, you'll add things that you need for client support or for me, like I need stats, right? I need to see like what close rates are. I need to see how many sales came in yesterday. I need to see how many unqualified calls came in, how many of those unqualified calls went billable. I like to have that before I talk to a client. So, you know, after we broke $1 million in revenue, which is fairly quickly.
Like what is quickly? 3 months?
Yeah, probably like a quarter and a
Okay.
half.
Okay.
Because things go 0 to 100 like very fast. Like 1 week, like you're banging your head against a wall, and you're like, oh, why won't this work? And then another week, you're like, it's working. And then like the next week, you're like, all right, what's next?
Okay.
You know. So then once you get over $1 million in revenue, you really have to selectively decide how you want to do SOPs.
And what is SOP?
That's standard operating process.
Okay.
So like, for example, I was onboarding my own clients. I was putting them into Retriever, shout out to Retriever. And I was doing it myself by hand. When like, I don't need to do that. Like someone else needs to be doing that. I have like calls to be on, you know, hands to shake, babies to kiss. But I'm stubborn because I like doing that. But it wasn't efficient. So I took my QA guy, who his name's Russell Weidel. He's great at what he does. And I took time out of my day. I slowed down and I, you know, showed him how to do that. Double checked his work. First he made mistakes, then he got better. And once he had it figured out, I'm like, okay, write down everything you know about that. Like, so that if we have to grow again, you can just give this document to the next guy.
Yep.
And that's one. But if you're too small and you have too many SOPs, it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Nobody will want to work in that environment, right? People like freedom and being able to do things their way without having to be told what to do. Those are the kind of people you want working for you. And so you don't want too many of those. Now, once you get over, you know, $10, $20 million in revenue.
How many people are you looking at for $10, $20 million?
How many people like working for me?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, like my team size stays the same no matter how much revenue we do because I'm for my people.
Does that include like agents? Oh, I guess you don't have agents.
No, we had
Okay.
an insurance brokerage for a little while.
Yeah,
but,
that's fair.
no.
From the agency perspective, like the people that are dialing on the phones. Like how many people is that for like $10 to $20 million in revenue?
Like on like which vertical? Insurance, roofing?
Sure. Yeah, sure.
Insurance, you could probably do 10 million in revenue with 8 people. I mean, if they're really good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you get over that, you're doing $20, $30 million in policy revenue, you probably need 25 or more agents on the phone.
Yeah.
But then once you have more than one pod of agents in a sales team, then you need managers.
Yeah.
Right? If you have managers, then you have
need
more than 3
supervise,
managers, then you need a director, right?
Yeah.
So like these things stack up. And it's the same with marketing and with any lead company. But I find that it's really important not to overdo it, right? You know, when I first started this, I did all the invoices myself. I did all the accounting, all the P&Ls.
Mm-hmm.
I was neurotic. I didn't want anyone else to touch my shit. Like, it was just like, you're investing or you're doing something else or you're managing the back end. But like, when it comes to clients, demand, sales, all of that was me. And as things got crazy, as I had kids, it was like, I cannot do this. I can't keep up with all this. And then it was like, my team was like, dude, what do you need? You know, and I'm like, well, I don't want to have to chase invoices. So like, you know, if you're going to do accounting, like do fucking accounting. Like go after these guys that owe us money. I don't want to find out 2 months from now, this guy hasn't paid a single bill.
Yeah.
Right. And I need to be able to trust that that's going to happen. So it's like basic fundamental things that you really, really need and that you don't like to worry about. I don't like to worry about bills or, you know, billing clients or paying vendors. I want to just know that it's done. And then I can focus on being creative, on what verticals to go after, on how to best help my clients, on how to come up with solutions. All of that stuff is just minutia. So, you know, that's the core principle here is like, how do you extract the most value from yourself?
Yeah.
Everything else follows from. So as you begin to scale, you have to have like baseline clients, right? That are going to be no fuss, no muss, right?
Yep.
Once you have that, then you can start to experiment with more things. It's all basically like building blocks.
Okay.
You know, you want one on top of the other. And then you have to put processes in place for the people that you're there so it's more automated, basically. And as people start to learn more and as you start to show them, because it'll start by this being your entire job, right? You do all of the work, everything, and then you get more time to let a few more people in. You show them how to do one thing, and then you have to worry about that thing a little bit less. And it's just series of that, basically. You do that, you repeat. You have something that's slowing you down, so you train somebody on how to do that, so it frees you up to add more revenue and to keep kind of stacking. I also think that diversity is a really, really big thing.
Yeah.
You know, I work mostly in the insurance verticals, and there's always like chicken littles out there that think the sky is falling, you know? And so
Like
how
with
do
the
you...
whole 1-to-1 consent that happened this year?
Yeah,
that didn't happen?
I mean, that was one, and we were prepared for that, and we kind of knew that was coming down the pipeline. But, you know, when you think about markets crashing or ACA basically destroying like private U65 plans, it's a big shift. And so one thing that you can do, not even like as a safety precaution, but literally just like for your mental health, for peace of mind, is to counterbalance that with like evergreen verticals. So one thing that we said was, okay, like what verticals can we work in that have large geos, so most of the country,
Yep.
and that are evergreen. They don't necessarily have enrollment periods. They're not going away. They're the industries that have been here for a while. And so legal was one of those verticals, motor vehicle accidents. Pest control was another big one.
Yeah, it's a big one. Texas, we got all that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we were able to get the contract for Terminex Rent-A-Kill.
Okay.
And that was a huge campaign.
And then how do you address like the TAM on that? Like, do you got like, what is your process of like kind of going through and saying, okay, this is the addressable market. This is how much we think we can get of that market. If we can get this is where we're going to be successful. Or like, what is that process like?
There is no process.
No process.
I go and I do it myself.
It's like, this sounds
and
cool.
I figure it out. And then
That's
once
fun.
I understand it well enough, I try and teach it to other people.
Okay.
But I don't, you know, if you wanted me to do like a projection for you, like that's not my thing. I don't
Yeah.
really care about that, right?
Is that
Like,
even important from your perspective, or is it like I'm going on a hunch?
It depends on the kind of company that you want to run. I mean, if you want to run a company that's going to be attractive for private equity and you want to be a very large company, then that's probably important. Personally, like I like to go in small, tight-knit, special unit, you know, everybody's the best at what they do, and maximize the amount of profit per individual, you know. If I have fewer people, I can pay those people more.
Yeah.
I can have higher, you know, talent thresholds. But, you know, if you want to run a 400-person company where you're, you know, being funded by private equity or venture capitalists, you need to have your books in order. I never really liked that idea. I liked kind of going out and experimenting on my own, figuring things out on my own, being honest with clients when I told them, hey, I have a lot of experience in this, but I don't necessarily know anything about this yet. I know the concept of it. I've done it in other verticals, but you're going to have to give me some time. And usually people are cool with that.
Okay. What else? What are those things you like? Right. Like, so that's obviously like learning new things is a big part of your role of what keeps you interested. What are the other things that keeps you motivated, interested in you know, driving the space forward?
Honestly, and it's funny, I think we were talking about this earlier, you're going to go through points in your career, whether it's a sunny day or a rainy day, whether it's a good time or a bad time, whether the market is shitty or the market's great, and you're gonna fall flat. You're gonna go you're gonna lose your motivation. You're gonna ask yourself, why am I doing this? And you'll have to come back to similar ideas of like, when we were in the good times, what made them the good times? And a lot of times it rarely comes down to earnings or money or success in a market. It's usually about the people you work with. And so like for me, what motivates me is to put individuals together that normally wouldn't work together because they would either be like, you know, you can't have 5 Michael Jordans on a basketball team, right? But you can if you do it the right way. And that's what motivates me, is bringing really great people together and then doing something as a team that nobody thought they could do before.
A couple of guests that we've had on the podcast, it seems like a large portion of their life is travel.
Yeah.
Like, how much is travel as a part of this this business, this space?
I mean, so that's a complicated question because I love the fact that, we can go see clients on site. I love the fact that, all of my close relationships and friends in this industry live all over the country.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of that has to do with conferences and, a lot of your creativity comes from intermingling with people and synergistic exchanges, right? But, I have 2 kids, right? I used to be on an airplane every 3 days, traveling all the time. If I had a client and I didn't like how they were behaving, I would not even tell them, and I would just show up at their office.
What would you say?
I would just be like, hey, is that my office in that conference room? I'm going to be working in there today. Do you have time to talk at 11? And I'm like, their lead guy. And they're like, yeah, that's fine. Or if someone catches wind ahead of time, you don't even have to go out because they'll just kind of be like, oh, no, you don't have to come down here. We're going to work this out. We're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you have to go and solve the problem. And if people aren't going to engage you or you're not getting anywhere, show up at the door,
And what types of problems would usually incite that type of reaction?
Well, if I'm working with you on a high capacity and you don't answer your phone.
Yeah, there you
right?
go. That's a
I haven't
problem.
heard from you in 72 hours. Yeah, I will be seeing you.
Okay.
If your sales process is just completely messed up and you've kind of told people what to do, but it's not getting put through in the right way and you're not seeing results or traction, it's like, okay, I'm going to come down and I'm going to show you how to do this. And I'm going to give you some examples. I'm going to sit with your sales guys individually. I'm going to show them how to sell. I'm going to show them how to close. We're going to listen to calls together. I'm going to sit in that room with them until they're fixed.
What are the commonalities that you've seen, like listening to the tapes, watching how the sellers are acting, that prevents them from actually closing?
Efficiency.
Efficiency?
Definitely efficiency.
Unpack that.
So you have to have a process when you're on a call. What is going to stop you from making a sale? And how do you get those things out of the way? And if they're not surmountable, move on.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. Go on to the next lead. It's a numbers game. It's a volume game. Right?
Yeah.
Too many times, someone spends 11 minutes on the phone for somebody who doesn't qualify for the plan, or they don't even want the plan, or it's the wrong number, and they're just trying to fight them for no reason. And it's like, dude, be like water, flow. Like if they don't want it, they don't want it.
Yeah.
If you're not helping them or you're not creating value, don't argue with them. Go on to the next guy. It's an efficiency issue or it's a lead issue. But either way, both of those problems are solved by knowing when to judge and move to the next opportunity.
And how do you know that judgment?
Well, we dispo calls by hand and we listen to recordings. We color code all of our dispositions. And so you can just tell when you look at the highest duration call from the lowest duration call, was it a non-qualified consumer? Was it a telephonics issue? Is it a callback? Is it a sale? And you'll see a frequency of those types of dispositions. And the non-sales based dispositions should be more concentrated in the lower durations. When you start seeing those dispositions in higher durations, it's a really bad sign.
Okay.
Because essentially one guy took 28 minutes to figure out that some lady doesn't qualify for a plan, right? But that one guy, that 28 minutes, that adds up. And over the course of 6 months, that guy's probably going to earn $15,000 less as an agent.
Yeah.
Because nobody ever told him to just get the let out and move on to the next call.
And I would assume that from the agent's perspective, they're just like, thank you, you're a god to me. They have to be making more money if they're following your advice.
I mean, yeah, the agents, if you're a salesperson, you work for someone, you deserve to be trained.
Yeah.
And some of these guys, they move too fast, they hire too many agents, and you have to literally go back in there and be like, all right, let's untangle this, let's recalibrate these guys. And if they can't be recalibrated, then they need to be fired.
Yeah.
And you need to find somebody else.
And what from a business perspective, what is the main for training?
Uh-huh.
What are the 3 things that you have to look for your a training? Frequency, how often you're training, content, what are the buckets of training that you need to be looking at each and every month, every 3 months?
Sales is a game.
Okay.
And, there needs to be an element of playfulness, essentially. where like, for example, we would play what we call rebuttal ball, where like somebody would be like, they give you a reason why they're saying no, and then they throw the ball to you, and you have to have a rebuttal.
Oh, that's
right?
cool.
And so like it's always like playing around and sharpening those tools and not letting them go stale. That's one part of it. Another part is paying attention to your guys and knowing when, you know, their numbers slide.
Yeah.
And when to do something about it. First, you have a conversation with them, and you like, hey, everything okay? Blah blah blah. Give them an opportunity to fix it. If it doesn't get fixed, then you have to go in there and retrain them, or you have to go in there and say, hey, like, let's get into this.
And how does that translate now? Because you know a lot of teams are remote, right? Like how does that?
So that's not as.
How does that impact? How do you do these
I
games?
thought that would be a harder thing than it is.
Okay.
You know, going basically cloud-based business,
Yeah.
right? But you could most of the stuff you can do on the phone or on a Zoom call. It's not as difficult as you would think. Now, I'm an
Okay.
in-person guy. I really prefer like being in an office with somebody,
Yeah.
listening to them on the phone and like giving them that reinforcement. But there are tools available where you can still be on the call, or you can still join them and, you know, walk them through the process.
Do you play rebuttal ball?
Not with the agents, no. That is on the brokerage owners. That's kind of like I can show you how to run the pet shop, but I'm not taking care of your dog. You know?
Yeah, that's fair.
Like,
what other games did you play? Like these sound pretty fun.
so spiffs are a big thing.
Yeah.
You know, basically like, you know, you would create something where whoever got the most sales or a specific type of sale, they would get some kind of token. Whoever had the most tokens at the end of the day would like get an opportunity to do this to win money, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, it sounds like such a simple thing, but when coworkers have culture together and they work together, they're competitive together,
Yeah.
that guy, like, you know, literally like just getting a free meal or a free drink at the bar or something
It's not even
over his
about that.
coworker.
It's not about that. It's about being at the top of the leaderboard.
Yeah, it's bragging rights.
Yeah,
And
it's like-
it creates
Yep.
this vicious cycle in a good way, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, you're on top today, I'll get you tomorrow. Like,
Yeah,
you know.
there's. I think I'm a people manager as well. I think that it's natural, and I think that from a work perspective, it's good to like create friendly rivalry,
Yeah.
right? Like otherwise, like it's just going to go stale. Like you're not going to create any real motivation to get
No.
your team to work harder. And I do think that the idea of a leaderboard or something of that nature where you can gamify your
Yep.
work experience, it just gets you more engaged.
And you need a ping pong table, 100%.
I never got into ping pong.
Oh man, there's something about like, okay, so this guy beat you in sales, but you just smashed his ass in ping pong, right? Like, and then like
Levels
I
the
don't-
playing field.
It just adds a different dynamic. Where
Yeah.
it's like that guy beat you in sales, and then he beat you in ping pong and talked some shit, and then you flipped the fuck out. You had to go home.
Yeah.
And people are like, "Ooh, did you see that?" Like, you know, it just adds to the flavor.
How do you do that with not, because you're remote? You can't do the ping pong anymore.
No, this was back in the day, but I don't.
Yeah.
I don't want to have the same style of a
Relationship.
company that company was. That company was 200 people in an office every single day, sales meetings in the morning, motivational videos. You know,
Yeah.
all of that. That's not what we're about.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about what you're about now. You want to do an intro of the business, and we can talk through it?
Yeah, so our primary business right now is Advanced Client Solutions. We also have a media company that I recently started with my partner who actually just left. But going back to ACS, Advanced Client Solutions, some of the people that have been with me have come with me through 4 different companies. You know, like.
Yeah. How did that, sorry, I don't want to go on too many tangents, but what kept your employees like, I just want to continue working with Eric? Like,
Well, I know what you're good at, and I might not have something for you to do. You're going to get on the payroll anyways, and
Okay.
we'll figure it out together.
that's awesome.
You know, like I need my guys, I need my team, I need you as a soundboard. You know, maybe I don't need a sales guy. Maybe I need someone to do dispositions. Maybe we don't need an account manager. We need somebody on the back end. And it's not about your skill set. It's about, do I trust you? And do I trust your motivations? Are we on the same page? Can you take harsh criticism? I'm not an easy guy to work for. You know, I'm kind of a dick, but like sometimes the only way to get things done efficiently is to be a dick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's just the world we live in.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like, hey man, like I know you're sick right now, but we have shit to do.
Yeah,
Like,
it's like everyone wants to be a nice guy, but unfortunately, if you need to get stuff done, you can't always be a nice guy.
no, rarely so. But I mean, like, you're only doing that because at the end of the day, you want to provide for everyone.
Yeah.
You want to provide for your team. Like you might be driving them hard, but you're doing it for them.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, don't you want to make money? Wouldn't, like, you know, don't you want me to continue to give you raises and we're going to continue to grow together? You know, you're one of my day ones. But like at the same time, like those people are literally indispensable.
Yeah.
Because they keep you level-headed. They know how to talk to you when you're mad.
Well, they've seen it all.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And like that's why I like the team that I have. It's because, you know, most of the people I work with, we've worked together for over 10 years. And, you know, we're only like 6 or 7 people at ACS. And we're only right now, I think, 3 or 4 people at Positive Origin. But, you know, loyalty means a lot. And through loyalty and through people knowing you for a long time, it's really easy to not want to listen to anyone. And it's ironic that the people that will bring you down to earth and that you will be most willing to listen to are the people that listen to you most of the time.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I know this guy, and I know he, like, would not stand up to me
Unless
like,
felt that he
it
was
was coming
right.
from his
Yeah.
heart.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
like, fuck, like, my guy said that to me? Oh, man. It's one thing if, like, a colleague says that to me or like, you know, a client, like.
Yeah, they don't know shit.
Yeah, no, they don't know more than me, right?
I mean, like it's not like they don't know shit. They're probably smart people, but it's like they don't know the inner workings of what you're dealing with, how you're coping with it, how you've coped with it in the past, and the vision that you have, not just for like yourself and your family, but what you're trying to build.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to the point where, like, again, I just had my second kid with my wife, and I wanted to start like 2 or 3 new verticals. And I was just going ape shit, like over new stuff, doing this every day, blah, 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 blah. And I was doing it. I was getting really aggressive. I was very snappy with people. And one of my chief revenue officer, her name is Ashley Essig. She called me and she's like, hey. I'm like, hey. She's like, you doing all right, man?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I'm doing fine. And she's like, are you doing fine? And I'm like, I don't know. What do you mean? And she's like, well, is everything good at home? And I'm like, yeah, I have been a little snappy lately.
What was your diet like?
My diet?
Yeah. During that time period. Because I noticed, like, with me, like, I get like that, and it's because my diet is, like, shit.
Oh, really?
Like, I'm not eating good food, low protein, like, and it just, like, it totally fucks up every relationship that I end up, like I just don't communicate right.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I don't have any of those issues. I'm basically a trash panda. I'll eat whatever I want. But I've never even looked at it that way. But what I do notice is, like, yeah, my relationship with people, am I in a space to do this right now? And she was like, look, Eric, like, clients aren't going anywhere. You're not going anywhere. When you decide to do something, people will listen. They're not, you know, it's not going to get stale. It gets hot because you're in it. So, like, why don't you take a beat? Why don't you give this a month or 2? You know, why don't you focus on your family? And, like, if a competitor or a colleague told me that, I'd be like, you know, why don't you shut the fuck up?
Yeah.
Right? But the fact that, like, one of my main partners in my business, like somebody that I trust emphatically, also someone that has to listen to me constantly on a daily basis, is like, hey, man, for your own mental health, I think you should focus on these things and, like, let's revisit, you know.
It's got to be refreshing. It's got to be refreshing to hear that. It's like, maybe I don't need to drive at 100 miles an hour every day.
Yeah, maybe I need to apologize to my wife. Like, maybe I haven't been a very nice guy.
I think you probably just do that normally.
Oh, all the time.
Yeah, same here. All right, so there's, you know, there's obviously, like, calculated risk, right, that you're looking at. There's not wanting to go stale. But where is this motivation coming from of this, you know, always looking to innovate? Like, where is that actually driven from?
Frustration.
Okay, define that.
I mean,
like, frustration with what?
Well, like, if you know your stuff on something and it should be working, everything that tells you it should be working and running smoothly, but it still doesn't. And you're like, what the fuck? Like, oh my God, what do we have to do here? And it drives you bonkers. you are going to build and rebuild, take it apart, put it back together, and you'll have like oh my God, why don't we just do it this way? I know that sounds crazy, but like, what if we did this in the opposite order? Or like, you know, and so you get those innovations because you need them. Like, you have to use them. I mean, it's not something where I want to be innovative just to be innovative. I just want to solve a problem at the end of the day. That's really what it comes down to. And if I can do that in a more creative way, or I can do it in a way that somebody else hasn't thought of, and that goes back to what we were talking about earlier, is timing the market right. If you can get ahead of a market because you're doing something in a way that no one else is doing it, do that.
Yeah.
That'll get you ahead of the market. And when you're ahead of the market, you make more money, you know, because you're there before the swell.
Yeah.
You know, and you can also hold on to that market share. And even after there's a swell in a certain vertical, if you were there first and you have a tight grip on everything,
first mover dominance, or
exactly,
advantage,
you can hold on to it.
Let's talk about where are some areas that just did not pan out, like it just completely fell on its face. Like I'm reminded of an interview Jeremy Boring with Daily Wire. He's a CEO of Daily Wire. He came out and said, I want to be a CEO that's made $1 billion mistake. Right? That means that I'm making so many decisions, I'm investing, I'm trying all these new things. But what were some of the things that you've been working on where I swung for the fences on this, I failed miserably on it, I learned from it, and then this is where I actually was able to learn from it and grow my business in this way?
Well, I think, first of all, failing is a luxury.
Yeah.
Like, you are blessed to be able to fail and not go under or whatever. When you get to the point where you can fail and you're like, well, at least I tried that out, you know, you're in a good place. That being said, like, failing is a part of the process. It really is. We have tried so many times to run, even from the beginning, some of the most simple models, and they've failed. And we just keep trying. We do it again. We do it in a different way. We change the script on something. It's okay to fail. Sometimes even when you succeed, you realize, like, this isn't where I want to live. I don't want to do this. Like, we started up motor vehicle accident calls for lawyers. And it was such a pain in the ass because they pay out on qualifier, right? So, you know, and it's very subjective. So it has to be this thing happened, they weren't at fault, they were insured, they went to see a doctor.
Yeah.
And it became a nightmare logistically to track these calls and whether or not, like, all those 5 things were hit as qualifiers, and even then, like, sometimes, like, lawyers want to argue with you, right? Like,
a lawyer? No.
Yeah.
No.
Exactly. And I just decided, I'm like, yeah, like, we made 6-figure profit from this last month, but I'm not doing this, and I'm not going to put somebody on my team to do this, because if I don't want to do it, I don't trust someone on my team that would want to do it. Like,
because they're
what the
getting,
hell's wrong with them,
it's not their business. They're not going to treat it the same way. That's just.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just, I wouldn't do that to one of my guys.
Yeah.
If I don't want to do it, I'm not going to make them do it.
That's
right?
fair.
So that was, an example of something that we did well and we succeeded at. And then once we had it dialed in, I was like, I don't want to do this. Yeah, that was cool.
That's cool. No
Next.
more. Not for me.
Yeah, not for me. Same with, like, pest control. We did pest control for a while. Became very, like, dialed in, very seasonal. One company bought out another company, and then, like, they were just not on the same page. And I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. You know? It was good while it lasted, but. And then there are things that, like, you just keep coming back to because you love. Like, I love private U65 health insurance.
Yeah.
It's where I started. Those types of leads are, like, very lucrative. They're very scalable. It's a very salesy vertical. So, like, you can really give good feedback, and the guys can aggressively dial in their pitch. Medicare.
Let's talk about the pitch. Like, how do you approach the pitch process?
Well, if you're an agency owner, like, you have a timer before that call goes billable. So, like, literally, you're asking questions, and if they answer wrong, you hang up on them. Like, you don't have time, right? That call goes billable. It's like $85. So, like, in a perfect world, I would love everyone to be polite to the consumer.
Yeah.
But
They're not really a consumer until they qualify, though.
Exactly. And it's you have to be client facing first, because at the end of the day, those are the people that pay you, right?
Yeah.
And so it's why are we still on the phone with this person? They literally just told you they were calling for an ID card. That has nothing to do with sales. Like, click. If you want to be nice, I'm sorry, you need to call this number, goodbye.
Yeah.
Like, you don't sit there and continue to exchange with those people.
That's fair.
So that's the number one thing. The second is having product knowledge and knowing what products are right for people for the right reasons, and explaining it at the right time to those people. That's essentially it. And then from there, like, you just look out for any kinks in the process, whether it's like they're losing stuff on the back end from payment issues, or like they don't have a good like closing process with like an admin that takes payment or something like that. But those are like, just things to be on the lookout for. Nothing that you usually need to dial in.
Yeah, very cool. Earlier, before we sat down, you mentioned that you're starting to build out more of a like a content function that's not performance marketing. Let's get into that, and then let's wrap with where are you looking to grow, right? Like, what are the things that you're looking forward to? How are you using a lot of these different AI products that are coming to market? And yeah, like what does a roadmap look like?
So to start with the media company, I was just in like January, February this year, I was just feeling like, I don't know, just humdum, like I don't normally get bored doing what I do. And so when I start to get bored and I start to like lose motivation, that's a big deal. Like, so I started to call like close friends and trusted colleagues, my buddy Patrick, who was just here, and I called him one day because he's got a company called, Alpine, and I was like, I've just been feeling like blah, and he's like, dude, me too. He's like, I've been thinking maybe I'll sell my company, like and I was like, yeah, I've been making hot sauce, like, when you get like a hobby that has nothing to do with work, like you are not okay, like you're distracting yourself, and
you're making hot sauce on the side.
Yeah, growing peppers.
Oh, really?
Reapers, baby. That's right.
Cool.
Yeah.
They're branded? Are you actually selling it, or?
No, we're not quite to that phase. It's just me and my brothers. We just like growing peppers.
Okay. Well, let me know if you start bottling.
I have.
Okay.
We're in prototype phase right now. You know what I mean?
Well, keep me posted on that.
I'll send you a bottle of hot sauce.
Okay. Can I help work on the branding? This is we did the branding for Closers Club.
Oh, that's nice. I like that.
Yeah, it's not bad.
One of the conclusions that me and my now partner came to was we weren't learning anything new.
Yeah.
We had gotten so good at aggregation and client facing and client management that it was boring. Like we weren't growing.
Sorry, I know I'm interrupting, but like, how do you like break up the monopoly, or not the monopoly, but
monotony?
The monotony of a lot of this? Like, I mean, you run into it in every industry. Like I'm in marketing, and even when we're doing different campaigns, like I have like tons of different campaigns. I have a backlog of all these campaigns. Mm-hmm. I was talking with my wife on it, and I was like, yes, it's a different creative experience. It's a different treatment. We're going to be saying things differently, but at the end of the day, it's all the same stuff, right? Yeah. You still have to do the ads, you create a different look and feel for it, but it's all the same thing. We do different direct mailers, but it's all the same. It's like, as soon as the pipes are built, it's like you just put water through the pipes,
Yeah, I mean, but when you get bored driving your car, like, what do? You drive it fucking fast.
Okay, there you go. That's a good point.
So if you're feeling stale or
just try
monotony,
do more.
Do some crazy shit. See
yeah,
what
do
happens,
more.
Right?
Do more. You're absolutely right on that. It's like, it's getting stale. Just try something new. Try to get an emotional reaction to someone so they want to engage with you, good or bad. It's like, even if it's bad, I'm like, I'm gonna put my sales hat on this. Like, can I get this guy to at least be open to talking with me?
Yeah.
Right? Like he engaged. Usually you don't see anybody engage.
Yeah.
But how are you able to take that negative and turn it into a positive where it's like, listen, we're not trying to make you mad. We're not trying to piss anybody off here. We're trying to have fun. We're trying to show you that we're playing loose, and we want to work with you. right? And it's like it comes down to your approach of like, look, we're all human. You know, we're not trying to be assholes, but we are trying to show you that we can offer you a great,
Yeah.
you know, customer experience and a product that can help you make more money and hopefully make you get a promotion and you can make more money personally. I'll have to follow up with you to see how that works. I think we're still in the cooling off period with that.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. It's like stuff like that, like keep it fresh, keep moving faster.
Well, and that's why I like conferences.
Yeah.
Because like when you're in front of someone and in person, you know, like it's kind of hard for them to be an asshole to you,
Yeah.
right? Because you clearly are a human being in front of them.
Yeah.
And you could be like, "What's your fucking problem, dude?"
Yeah.
You know, like
you can call them out.
Exactly. And so like that's the ultimate leverage is like I will show up in person and talk to you. Like I keep going back to that, but it's so fundamental and it's so important to be face to face with people so that they can see what you're about, so that you can humanize yourself.
Do you think that intensifies post-COVID, where people are remote?
Oh, for sure.
And it's like, because like I see it, it's like I would rather get together, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm like that too, but at the same time, it's like I also work remote, and it's
Yeah.
just like I get so much more work done when it's remote.
No, I totally agree. You do get more work done remote, but that's what makes it even more necessary. And that's what makes those trips more special.
Yeah.
Is that, yeah, I work from home 75% of the year, but 25% of the year, that concentrated 1/4 of the year, I'm spending quality face-to-face time with you as a human being, as another person, as hopefully my friend.
Yeah.
You know, like, and then you start to get into relationships that they transcend business. And
Yeah.
it's like, you know, we might not be doing business now. I'm still going to come see you. Like, you're my guy. What have
Yeah.
you been hearing,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
out there in the industry? Like, what's going on? And then it becomes more of a casual relationship where it's like, well, this might work, it might not work. I'd be happy to try. And then after a while, you're not even doing sales.
Yeah, it's more relationship.
You're just
building.
hanging out with your friends and making money.
That's great.
Like, that's
Who doesn't want
that's
that?
where we are. Like, I don't even pitch anyone anymore. You
Yeah.
know, I'll tell them what I think. I'll tell them the likelihood of success. I'll tell them what I need. And we either do it or we don't.
That's great.
You know?
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Well, man, it sounds like you've built an amazing business. You know, not necessarily going into the financials of it, but it's just like how you've been able to grow over these last years, and then
Yeah.
you're doing it with a group of people that you legitimately love hanging out with. Like,
Yeah.
that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. It
So
really is.
congratulations.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's been fun.
Well, Eric, thank you for your time today.
Yeah.
It's
Thanks
been
for having me.
amazing to get to know you and learn about your experience. And I wish the best of luck. And I hope that we can have you on the pod again later in the year.
Sure.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. No problem.